The courtroom fell silent as my Uncle James straightened his expensive tie and declared with absolute confidence, "Your Honor, I purchased all 12 properties from my brother fair and square. I have the signed documents right here." Judge Martinez raised an eyebrow, looking between the stack of papers James's lawyer was presenting and my calm expression. "Ms. Chen, your response to your uncle's claim." I opened my laptop, maintaining eye contact with James as I connected it to the courtroom's display system. "Your Honor, I'd like to show you a video recorded at Sunrise Valley Nursing Home 3 weeks ago. The date and time stamps are authenticated." James's lawyer suddenly stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Objection, Your Honor. This evidence wasn't submitted during discovery." "Actually," I smiled, "it was." Page 47 of our evidence list clearly includes a video testimony from Richard Chen, dated March 15. "Your office acknowledged receipt." The judge nodded. "Objection overruled. Proceed, Ms. Chen." As I pressed play, I watched James's face transform from smug certainty to growing horror. On the screen, my father's face appeared, tired but clear-eyed, as he systematically destroyed James's elaborate scheme to steal our family's legacy. But let me back up and explain how we got here. I'm Anna Chen, 34, a corporate lawyer specializing in real estate transactions. My father, Richard Chen, built a successful property development business from nothing after immigrating to America in the 1980s. Through decades of hard work, he acquired 12 valuable commercial properties across the city. Dad's pride was the Chen Plaza shopping center downtown, but each property had its own story. The apartment complex he bought and renovated for immigrant families, the office building where he gave preferential lease terms to minority-owned businesses, the warehouse he converted into affordable artist studios. Uncle James, my father's younger brother, took a different path in life. While Dad built his business through honest work, James bounced between get-rich-quick schemes and failed ventures. He was always looking for the easy way, the angle to exploit. "Your uncle just needs time to find his path," Dad would say whenever James asked for money. He helped James out of numerous financial holes over the years, always believing his brother would eventually straighten out. 3 years ago, Dad was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's. It was devastating for our family, watching this brilliant, detail-oriented man struggle with basic tasks. My mother Mary became his primary caregiver, but as his condition worsened, we made the difficult decision to move him into specialized care at Sunrise Valley. That's when James started showing up more frequently, always when I was at work. He'd bring documents for Dad to sign, claiming they were routine business matters that Dad had supposedly discussed with him earlier. The nursing staff later told me they felt uncomfortable about these visits, but James would insist it was family business and that he had authority to handle Dad's affairs. I first noticed something was wrong when I was reviewing Dad's quarterly property management reports. Lease payments for several properties had been redirected to new accounts. When I investigated, I discovered paperwork claiming James had purchased all 12 properties for a fraction of their value. The documents were dated over the past year, during periods when Dad's confusion was at its worst. James had taken advantage of his own brother's illness to steal millions of dollars worth of property. Dad would never sell the plaza, I told my mother. He planned to pass these properties to us for community benefit. We need to fight this. But James had prepared well. He had documents, witnesses, all somehow connected to his latest business ventures, and his story about Dad wanting to simplify his affairs before his condition worsened. What James didn't know was that I'd been quietly documenting everything, every suspicious visit, every questionable document, every irregular financial transaction. More importantly, I'd been recording Dad's moments of clarity at the nursing home. Sunrise Valley had an excellent memory care program that helped residents maintain and document their lucid periods. The staff worked with me to record Dad's statements about his properties and his relationship with James. "I would never sell the plaza," Dad said clearly in one recording. "That's for Anna to manage for the community. James knows this. He's trying to steal what I built." We filed a lawsuit to void the property transfers, alleging fraud and exploitation of a vulnerable adult. James countersued, claiming the sales were legitimate and demanding the courts enforce the contracts. That's how we ended up in this courtroom. watching James's carefully constructed scheme collapse as my father's video testimony played on the large screen. In the video, Dad methodically went through each property, explaining its significance and his plans for its future. He directly addressed James's claims, pointing out specific details that proved the sales couldn't have happened as described. The warehouse, Dad said on screen. James claims I sold it last August. I was in the hospital with pneumonia all that month. Check the records. I wasn't signing any documents. The judge leaned forward, clearly engaged. James's lawyer had stopped objecting and was furiously whispering with his client. The plaza, Dad continued. The contract shows I signed it on Mom's birthday. We were all at her celebration dinner. James wasn't even there. He was in Las Vegas that weekend. Check his credit card statements. One by one, Dad demolished the fake sales. He recalled dates, meetings, and details that proved James's documents couldn't be genuine. More importantly, the video showed Dad's clear mental state when discussing these matters. My brother thinks because I'm sick, I don't remember, Dad said sadly, but I remember everything he's doing. He's stealing from his own family. When the video ended, the courtroom was silent except for James's heavy breathing. His lawyer stood up slowly. Your Honor, my client would like to request a brief recess to discuss. To discuss what? Judge Martinez interrupted. How to explain the multiple instances of fraud just revealed, the apparent forgery of documents, the exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The judge turned to James directly. Mr. Chen, I've seen a lot of property disputes between family members, but this is extraordinary. You took advantage of your own brother's illness to steal his life's work. James tried one last desperate play. Your Honor, those videos could be edited. My brother's condition means he's easily confused. The videos are authenticated by the nursing home staff. I interjected. We have their sworn statements about Dad's mental state during filming. We also have security footage of your visits, showing you pressuring Dad to sign documents while he was heavily medicated. James's lawyer began packing his briefcase. Your Honor, given this new evidence, my client would like to withdraw his countersuit and discuss a settlement. Oh, we're way past settlement, Judge Martinez said firmly. This court is referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Mr. Chen, I suggest you find a criminal defense attorney. I watched my uncle's face crumple as he realized the magnitude of his mistake. He'd assumed that Dad's illness meant there would be no consequences for his actions. He'd underestimated both Dad's moments of clarity and my determination to protect our family's legacy. The judge's ruling was comprehensive. All property transfers to James were voided. He was ordered to repay any rental income he'd collected, plus penalties and legal fees. The evidence was referred for criminal prosecution for elder abuse and fraud. As we left the courthouse, my mother squeezed my hand. Your father would be so proud of you, she said. You protected everything he built. The aftermath of the court case sent shockwaves through our extended family. James's reputation was destroyed. His business associates, learning how he tried to steal from his sick brother, wanted nothing to do with him. Criminal charges followed, resulting in a plea deal that required full restitution and barred James from any involvement in property transactions. He eventually moved to another state, but not before making one last attempt at manipulation. You've ruined me, he told me during a chance encounter at a family funeral. My own niece, destroying my life. No, Uncle James, I replied calmly. You ruined yourself when you tried to steal from your sick brother. I just made sure there was evidence. The Chen Plaza and our other properties continued to serve the community as Dad had intended. I took over management, implementing the plans Dad and I had discussed during his lucid periods at Sunrise Valley. The warehouse artists kept their affordable studios. The immigrant families in our apartment complex stayed in their homes. The minority-owned businesses in our office building continued to grow and thrive. Dad's condition progressed as Alzheimer's inevitably does, but he had moments of joy seeing his properties continue their mission. The nursing home staff would drive him past the plaza, and his face would light up with recognition. Anna manages now, he would say proudly. She understands. It's not just buildings, it's community. The video that exposed James's scheme became a teaching tool at the local bar association's ethics seminars. Estate lawyers used it to demonstrate both the vulnerability of elderly clients and the importance of documenting capacity. James's lawyer was sanctioned by the state bar for his role in the fraud. He admitted knowing the documents were questionable but claimed James had assured him everything was legitimate. A lawyer's duty is to the truth. The Bar Association panel wrote in their decision, not to enabling family members to steal from vulnerable relatives. 2 years after the court case, I was reviewing property records when I discovered something interesting. James had attempted to take out loans against several properties during the period he claimed to own them. The banks had declined their due diligence, revealing issues with his ownership claims. Your uncle tried to leverage properties he didn't own, my assistant explained, showing me the rejected loan applications. The banks saw red flags and reported them, but the reports went to departments that didn't communicate with each other. This discovery led to a new policy at our management company, regular audits of all property records and loan applications, ensuring no one could ever attempt James's scheme again. The criminal case against James concluded with a plea agreement. He admitted his crimes, agreed to restitution, and accepted a ban from any property-related business. The judge, noting the exploitation of a vulnerable family member, also required community service at an Alzheimer's care facility. Maybe working with dementia patients will teach you empathy, the criminal court judge told him, though I doubt it. Mom moved into a cottage on the Plaza property, keeping Dad's vision alive through community programs and events. She started a support group for families dealing with early-onset Alzheimer's, sharing our story as a warning about protecting vulnerable relatives. The nursing home strengthened their protocols around document signing, requiring independent verification for any legal or financial papers. They used Dad's case to train staff on recognizing and preventing financial exploitation. Dad's moments of clarity became less frequent, but he never lost his connection to the properties he'd built. Sometimes he'd point out windows in the nursing home, describing buildings only he could see. Each one has a purpose, he'd say. Each one helps someone. James made one final attempt at redemption, sending a letter through his new lawyer offering to make amends in exchange for dropping the criminal charges. Your uncle still doesn't understand, Mom said, reading the letter. This was never about money, it was about trust and family. We donated the video evidence to an elder abuse prevention organization, which used it to create training materials for financial institutions and healthcare workers. Dad's story helped protect other vulnerable seniors from similar exploitation. The Chen Plaza thrived under new management policies I implemented based on Dad's original vision. We expanded the community programs, added affordable housing units, and created a small business incubator for immigrant entrepreneurs. This is what the properties were meant for, I explained to a local business journal, not as assets to be stolen, but as resources to build community. James's betrayal had an unexpected positive effect. It brought the rest of our family closer together. Relatives who had enabled his schemes in the past now understood the importance of protecting vulnerable family members. Regular family meetings became a tradition, with transparent discussions about property management and community impact. We established a family council to oversee the properties, ensuring decisions aligned with Dad's original mission. The legal community took notice of our case. I was invited to speak at conferences about elder financial abuse and property fraud. The video evidence became a powerful tool for teaching lawyers about protecting vulnerable clients. Dad's legacy grew beyond the physical properties. The Chen Family Foundation was established, providing scholarships for immigrant students and grants for community development projects. The artist studios in the warehouse produced a collaborative art installation about memory and family, dedicated to Dad. It traveled to galleries nationwide, raising awareness about both elder abuse and the importance of affordable spaces for artists. James's daughter, my cousin Sarah, contacted me a year after the court case. She discovered additional evidence of her father's schemes, attempts to defraud other family members that hadn't succeeded. I found his notebooks, she said, sharing documents that revealed the full scope of his plans. He was going to steal from anyone he could. You stopped him before he could hurt more people. The notebooks became part of the criminal case record, leading to additional charges and an extended ban from financial activities. James's schemes had been more extensive than anyone realized. Dad's condition continued to progress. But the nursing home staff found that visits to the properties could still bring moments of engagement. They developed a therapy program around these visits, helping other residents maintain connections to their past achievements. The courtroom video remained in my office, a reminder that sometimes protecting family means standing up to family. The judge's laughter at James's claims became less important than Dad's clear voice describing his legacy. 5 years after the court case, the Chen Plaza hosted a community celebration of Dad's vision. Tenants, residents, and community members shared stories about how the properties had impacted their lives. Mr. Chen gave us a chance when no one else would, said Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd opened her first restaurant in the plaza 20 years earlier. Now my children have opportunities one never dreamed of. James never attended family gatherings again, his shame or anger keeping him away, but his attempts to steal our family's legacy had only made that legacy stronger, more resilient, and more focused on its original purpose. The properties remained in family management, protected by legal structures I created based on our experience. Future generations would continue Dad's mission of building community through responsible property development. Dad's video testimony, which had exposed James's fraud, became part of our family history. It showed not just the defeat of a deception, but the strength of a man who, even facing cognitive decline, fought to protect what he'd built for others. The judge's laughter at James's claims was just a moment in court, but Dad's vision for his properties continues to change lives. His legacy isn't just in buildings or legal victories, but in the communities that thrive because he understood that property ownership comes with responsibility. And that's something no fraudulent document could ever steal.